What if I told you that the most dangerous person in this story never raised her voice? She never begged, she never cried in public, she never even threatened him. She simply smiled and waited. This is the story of Adayz, the woman who gave a man everything, watched him destroy it all, and then took back far more than he ever deserved. Adayz was the only child of Chief Okafor and his beloved wife, Ngozi, two of the wealthiest traders in the land of Niue. When they passed, they left her everything: 3 companies, 12 properties, a cocoa plantation the size of 10 villages, and a name that commanded respect from Lagos to Accra. She did not inherit wealth. She became wealth, and she managed every single asset with the mind of a queen and the patience of a river. His name was Chukwemeka, but everyone called him Emeka. And oh, what a face God had given that man. He walked into Adayz's life like a song you didn't know you needed. Poor as dust, but dressed in confidence like it cost him nothing. He made her laugh. He made her feel seen. For the first time since burying her parents, Adayz felt her heart open like the first rain of April. Love, true and reckless, had found her. Or so she believed. They married in the most beautiful ceremony the village had ever witnessed. And in her love, great, generous, perhaps too generous, Adayz did something that would later shake her to the bone. She handed Emeka the keys to a portion of her empire. "Let us build together," she said. She smiled as she signed papers transferring assets into his name. But in her heart, unknown to anyone, not even her closest friend, she had kept the most important keys to herself. The wise woman always keeps one hand in her own pocket. Wealth changes some men the way sunlight changes wax. What was once firm and upright becomes soft and crooked. As Emeka's pockets grew fat and his name grew loud across the land, something terrible grew inside him, something older than greed, darker than ingratitude. He had looked around at the life Adayz built, taken all that she offered, and decided it still was not enough. He wanted more, he wanted different, and the one he chose to pursue that craving with was Adayz's own blood sister. It was Mr. Adaymi, the manager of her Abuja branch, who first saw them coming out of a hotel room together, laughing, touching her sister and her husband. He did not look away. He raised his phone, he took the photograph, and 3 days later, with shaking hands and a heavy heart, he placed it before Adayz. The room went very quiet. She looked at the photograph for a long time. Then she looked up, smiled gently at Mr. Adaymi, and said, "Thank you. You may go." He left the office confused. She had not screamed. She had not wept. She had done something far more powerful. She had filed it, deep inside her chest, like a document to be used at the right moment. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Adayz gave her husband a gift fit for a king. A gleaming, Swiss-made wristwatch worth more than most men earned in 3 years. He clasped it on his wrist and pulled her close, whispering how much he loved her. She smiled against his cheek. What Emeka did not know, what he could not have imagined, was that hidden inside that watch's clasp was a tracker, and a recording device so small, so precise, that it could capture every whisper in a crowded room. From that day, Emeka carried his own confession on his wrist everywhere he went. Over the following weeks, the watch spoke, and what it told her cracked the earth beneath her feet. Not one woman, not 2, 3, her sister, her dearest friend, Kioma, with whom she had shared childhood secrets. And the wife of her own guardian, the man who had carried her father's coffin and sworn to protect her. 3 women, 3 betrayals, and from one of those unions, a child had been born. A child the guardian believed was his. Adayz wept that night as she had never wept before. But by morning, her tears were dry, her plans were written, and her face was as still as a stone carved into the banks of the Niger. Let him enjoy his last season of comfort. The harvest was coming. She came to him with excitement dancing in her eyes. "Emeka, I have found the most incredible investment opportunity. I put in 20 million naira and within 30 days I received back 38 million. The profit is astonishing." His eyes lit up the way only a greedy man's eyes can. He asked every question a sensible man would ask, and she answered them all perfectly. When she handed him 40% of the profits, warm and real in his hands, every doubt dissolved. The business did not exist. The money was her own. But the trap was now wide open, and Emeka was walking straight into it, smiling. Greed is a fire that does not warn you before it burns the house. Emeka went home that night unable to sleep. He calculated and recalculated. If 20 million returned 38, what would 500 million return? He sold his Bentley. He sold the duplex in Lekki. He liquidated investments. He emptied accounts. 500 million naira. Every coin he had accumulated since marrying Adaze, placed into her hands, with a signed transfer form and a wide smile. She received it graciously. She signed her own documents with him that same evening. He barely glanced at the papers. Had he read them carefully, he would have seen that one of them was a divorce agreement. The other, a full property reversion deed. He had just signed his entire life away, with a pen, over dinner, while she poured him a glass of wine. She had called them all personally. Her sister, you must watch the program. Her friend Kioma, I want you in the audience, it is a special show. Her guardian, bring your family. Sit in the front row. They all came, dressed in their finest, hearts light with unknowing. The show was called Love That Lasts. The host introduced them as one of the most admired couples in the city. Emeka straightened his collar and smiled for the cameras. And then Adaze leaned slightly forward, looked into the lens, and said, very calmly, before we begin, I would like to share some things about the true nature of our love. The screen lit up behind her. Photographs, recordings, hotel receipts, travel itineraries, a child's birth certificate, all of it, projected in full color before millions watching at home, and the few carefully invited guests seated in that audience who had no idea their own sins were about to walk out to meet them in public. The studio fell into the kind of silence that only comes before a storm breaks. And then it broke, a scream from the audience, a chair scraping back, a man who could not look at his wife, a woman who could not look at her sister. Emeka reached for Adaze's hand. She moved it, calmly, finally, away from his reach. I have already signed the papers, Emeka, she said quietly. Your lawyer will find them waiting. They say the river that forgets its source will dry up before it reaches the sea. Emeka had taken everything Adaze offered and forgot where it came from. Now it had all returned to where it belonged. She did not walk away poor. She walked away with everything she had started with, plus everything he had tried to build with her money, all reclaimed by law, by document, by intelligence. And Emeka? He walked away with nothing but the suit on his back and the watch on his wrist, still ticking, still recording, a reminder of the day he underestimated the woman who loved him first. Adaze never married again, but she built a school in her mother's name, and every year, on her anniversary, she sat on the veranda of her great estate, watched the sun set over her inheritance, and smiled, slowly, quietly, the way only a woman who won everything can smile. And so ends the story of Adaze, the queen who smiled last. Our people say, he who brings cola brings life, but he who takes what was given without gratitude, brings his own ruin. If you're Adaze, what would you have done differently? Would you have forgiven Adaime? Leave your comment in the comments section. If this story moved you, if it made your heart beat fast, subscribe to this channel and ring the bell, because more stories like this are coming. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, and remember, the wisest woman in the room is not always the loudest one. Sometimes, she is the one sitting quietly, watching, and waiting for the right moment to smile.